The very last game of this match between Honor players and their opponent, the Scraps, is going to be played on a random map that was chosen as Black Sea, which is kind of interesting. Because of course we have already seen this game in this match in the very first one. That was the home map for Honor players, so it might be really playing into their cards, but at the same time, since the players didn't know it, they had to take a bit safer choices of the civilizations. You can see basically double Oranos plus something on top of that. You can see double Oranos with Zeus for Honor players, whereas for the opponents, the Scraps, you are seeing double Oranos and Set. And well, I would be slightly favoring the Zeus there with the Underworld Passage. But Set, of course, does have the 15 cents, so it could be working. But overall, really, I would a bit more favor Honor players, actually a lot more favor them, because Underworld Passage is really pretty strong deal on this map, and if you play correctly, which unfortunately Honor players couldn't in the first attempt at this map, this match, it could really be the game changer. So let's see, we are seeing a lot of different gods from the first game. Well. Interestingly enough, this is a very funny spawn of Black Sea because you don't have really all that many backfishes. Just basically the 3 in here and empty ponds and the little ponds on the left for the Scraps, whereas the opponents, Honor players, are having a bit larger pond, but nothing really they should be all that happy about or excited about. Nothing all that great. Otherwise, a whole lot of land, that which means that nobody is going to be having any kind of significant advantage. Even if they'll happen to lose the water. In the meantime, let's check, for example, the relics. Good. Better towns and population slots. That's a pretty powerful relic to be had on this map, or any kind of map. Better hypaspis, whatever. Pierce damage. Would be useful. Not sure that for them all that much, because they don't really have the gods to make use of it all that much. Master Infantry, build time. Also not a game changer in this game. With unit crush armor, also not anything all that great. On the other side of the map, we are seeing. Oh, that is a game changer. Better caravan cost and speed. That's making a ton of difference, and basically will be allowing the Honor players to kill a lot of villagers in the later game. Basically allowing them a bit more population limit on the army and better tower ranged and melee attack. Yet another super important for this map, because it will make defending the shoreline and even the TCs or whatever on their home map, on their home part of the map, really all that easier. Such a big advantage on the towers. That's really something quite powerful. But let's check how the players are so far scouting, as of course we are going to be looking, for example, at right now Shelty, who is right now housed, as he is, or rather housed out of resources, as he's waiting for a bit more resources from the fishies to come in right now, as we are looking at Fox, who is dropped in the middle and have been pretty decent position, of course, on the fish, and basically 1v1 with Metallo is going to be played on left with Shelty. Yeah, right now Metallo is a bit more to the left, so he's going to be making use of the fishies in there a bit more, and there are a ton of them, literally a ton of them, really, and this might be basically prompting Shelty to go a bit more into the middle for the fishies, whereas on the right side we are seeing, yeah, pretty much the similar build of Magic against Kiludai, who are also pretty much the same spot, but since Egyptians are often building second docks very soon, we are already seeing one at the bottom, which will make sure that Magic is owning the right arm of the water on Black Sea. Yep, that's definitely going to be in Magic's favor in here. We are right now at 246, so probably temples will be dropped sometime soon. So far, of course, nothing interesting all that much happening on this map, as it's usually the case, so we might just as well have a look around the map, as we are of course seeing TCs in the range from Metallo at the top, at the bottom from Shelty, whereas on the right it's... Oh, well, is it actually the same? Well, this TC is definitely in range, even in Heroic Age from Kirudai, or even in Heroic Age. Might not, maybe just in Mythic, but I'm not all that certain about the one from Magic, because this could actually be out of range. Even in Mythic, really far away. And the one in the middle is basically the same case, even though I would be slightly more thinking that this could be in range rather than this one, but it could be also that neither is. And in that case, they would be having slight advantage. And especially since they have the Egyptian, should be helping them in the water fight. Yeah, well, we are in for a very interesting game. But since I'm saying right now that the Egyptian will be help in the water, we mustn't forget that the opponents are having Zeus, which means that they are going to be having Restoration. And that's a game changer on water every time, if you use it correctly. So, well, let's not really call it a day all that much for the scraps, as this could definitely be a very interesting one, because of the difference from the set into the Zeus in there. So second dog from Shelty going to be played into the left, as he's hoping that he can still make use of at least a few of those fishes. Seeing that Metallo is not going to be fast enough, and you can see that Metallo is exactly arriving at the same conclusion, hoping to go to the left, having a few extra fishes and basically preventing his opponent from doing something similar to that. Purple just now trying to scout at the back, as we are seeing his second dog going a bit more into the middle. So he's going to be hoping to join strengths with Green Sea Squash, who is the first to advance through Prometheus into the next age. Luda is going to be slightly slower, and well, you can see Athena, of course, coming up from the last player, Metallo. Whereas Rachel and Kiludai are right now through. In the pocket, of course, Fox is also through, as Magic is just now clicking in, so that's going to be probably some faster heroic as you would be expecting, but also probably some extra TCs, which is something that that Magic does pretty often, but well, you won't see until he advances and goes for them. So far going for a lot of wood, so of course he's going to be interested in fighting for the water. So maybe in the end it's not going to be even faster heroic, but basically just standard fighting on the water, which is usually delayed by Egyptians because they can afford it, because of basically the cheap docks and the ability to hide the fishing boats in them and let them shoot, exactly as is going to be happening in this case. Yeah, right now he's not really caring about it all that much. He can absorb some damage and it will help his economy, so why not? And you can see that he's paying quite nice attention, and he's just basically waiting until they are almost dead to hide them. Yeah. Well, right now he really wasn't, but last one, that was it at the last moment, and he was just using the boats to the fullest. In the end, we are seeing a fight on the left where Shelty is forced to use Shockwave so that he has any kind of chance against the Zeus. Zeus, of course, having stronger boats and such. Let us see, and he seems to be having a pretty good right now army, but we are also seeing quite interesting gameplay right now, because Magic seems to be aiming for shifting sands into opponent's side of the map, and he definitely is. He has just now shifted on top of his opponent, and since they are absolutely not ready for this, they have absolutely no military buildings, this could be a bit of a problem, because they have already killed one citizen. But why? Why would you do this without villagers? Why would you really do this without any kind of villager? Maybe that was some kind of misplay that he didn't actually account for it. But you have shifting sands, which is basically like one of your rare chances of how to land the other side of the map, and you are using it for just this and not even send one villager. Even if you do it this soon, you can just hide him somewhere in the darkness, because right now in the early game, of course, your opponents are not going to be seeing all of the map, and hide him there and do whatever, establish yourself, build some buildings for later game. This was potential wasted. Well, but still, of course, it's going to be a bit of a problem for the opponents, because they really aren't ready for anything like this. Like at all, you can see they are just fighting for the water full on. Ilurai right now having slight problems with Iron Magic, because of course Magic is right now having stronger economy than him. And well, on the left we are looking at basically the same situation as Scraps seem to be doing a pretty great job on the water, as Shelty is winning against Metallo, which is fairly surprising to be honest, because it's an Atlantean against a Zeus, which should be going just, well, not just one way, but it often goes one way, but Restoration hasn't been used yet. Maybe there could be a moment coming now, but the boats from Red are not actually in good numbers, so he's going to be retreating. And with Fox having so many boats in there, yeah, it's looking like that actually Honor players are not all that ready for this map to be played yet again, and they seem to be losing the water, as opposed to the first attempt where they were absolutely owning it. Has to be said, they had different civilizations, they had the double Greeks with the one Oranos, but anyway, this is basically quite similar. Double Oranoses on both sides, whereas on one side there is Zeus with Restoration, on the top side, whereas at the bottom we are seeing, of course, a Set as an Egyptian. Well, you can see that Metal is finally having some extra boats on the left, so he's probably going to be just trying to take things a bit more slowly. Fox needs to be also careful so that he doesn't use lose units needlessly, as Shelty is returning back to the left side and going to be surprised by a bit more boats than he probably hoped for. In the meantime, we are seeing that Magic is still running around. Fortunately, he doesn't have any villagers, so of course, he cannot really transport and steal the TCs or anything like that, which was another reason why it was so weird to cast the 15 cents without villies. He could be just so easily stealing down centers right now. But right now he cannot. And we are seeing at least the Valor being cast on the Oracles, and they could be actually enough to get rid of this, at least of some units. But he needs to be careful because right now he's going for the budget, and basically Magic was kiting him very nicely. That means that the Oracles are gonna die kinda too easily without any kind of effect, so Valor wasted. I'm going to be having a look if some military buildings are finally coming up for the owners. Finally. Right now Blue is getting ready, as he's having country and military barracks ready. So going to be defending against this nonsense that is right now going to be dead pretty soon by Magic, and that should stabilize the situation. As on the water they are not really doing all that great, but they are not doing all that tragically either. So it's still very much open, and they still do have, of course, the Underworld Passage, which will be their ticket to the victory in this game. But the water doesn't seem to be going all that well for Honor players. Oh, Schulte is having so many boats. Really so many boats, and together with Fox, they should be getting rid of their opponents very easily. You can see that Metal is not even continuing with the water fight all that much. It's right now at 2 TCs, and probably they are right now aiming for exactly what I was talking about, and that's going to be the attack through the Underworld Passage somehow. Second TC being captured by Schulte also at the back, which are the only second TCs. No. AC Squash is also going for the second one. So yep, that's going to be a bit of more economic advantage for the Honor players, but they need to keep in mind that they are without the water so far, and they seem to have already lost it. Because the amount of boats from both Magic and Fox on the right, whereas on the left Shelty, who is also in the middle as you can see, is quite strong, and he is even forcing AC Squash into a bit of a trap. So yep, Honor players basically giving up on the water and switching into full-on land build order. As Gincy Squash is going for 30C, second at the back being captured by Kiludai, and yeah, I'm thinking that the front one is not going to be really all that far behind. But you're going for the front one. Back one also for Fox, and front one also, so he's going for all of them at once. And front one being captured by Shelty also, so yep, everybody going for full-on economy right now, as the water is basically decided, and there's going to be a bit of a hiatus before RC next attempts on what to do. Since the water has been won so convincingly, I'm fairly expecting that the scrap should be able to land their opponents quite soon, and quite easily, especially I'm looking at the bottom part in here, which is absolutely unscouted by Kirudai. He was having some oracles, but of course, they would have fallen prey to all the boats on the shoreline, but this is really dangerous for them, and they need to be super careful about this position, as so far, I'm fairly certain that might be the way for the scraps how to infiltrate their island. Those guys still very much alive, but probably not for much longer. It's just a question of time before they are going to be caught up with. Front TC being captured by Metal right now, and we will be expecting that somebody might be going at least into Heroic Age, but so far that's not really true, at least for Shelty, but for the other players. Let's just switch it through their resources. Greasy Squash, not ready. Metal will be ready pretty soon, as he's rebuilding at the middle. Or at least attempting to do so, and that means that he is exactly aiming for the heroic, and then he will be spamming a whole lot of units and such. I was just kind of thinking if maybe it would be some kind of idea to go for Dionysus for a spam of Skillas. It would help for some long-term measure, because Underworld Passage is of course one-time deal, and if you lose it, then yeah, what to do next? But it is such a strong god power that you actually have to use it, so probably not really all that clever idea. But we are seeing that Magic is going to be clicking into next age. And what actually does Seth have? Does he have the god with the rocks, aka Hathor? Yeah, no, he isn't. He isn't, but he is potentially having Leviathan, which is a pretty good actually transport unit. It's actually not a bad transport unit, because it can survive a lot of punishment, which means that he might fairly safely transport unit, as we are seeing Thea right now from Fox. Transport unit safely into opponent's side. Well, Gilead definitely not ready for an extra age. He seems to be quite far behind right now. Pelte also through Thea and will be jumping into Mythic and looking at its resources. So let's check back into all the players, and to finish my thought, what was actually my thought? Actually forgot what was my thought. That's a shame. Ah, yeah, the Leviathan. That he could be pretty good transport because he will allow to even be shot at quite a lot and still will be successfully transporting units on the other side of the strait, and that's not really such a long way. So yep, that's something that Egyptians also have in their favor. Not only the rock, but the Leviathan also can be pretty useful. In the meantime, Kiludai is attempting to go back to the water, as he's thinking that green is not going to be paying enough attention as Leviathan is up. And yeah, villagers exactly waiting. And the first army is also coming into play. So, open the mouth and accept the villages. And he got, unfortunately for him, the flag right on top of his nose. Waiting for even extras. And they all can fit. All of them can fit quite nicely. So he's going through. Fortunately, it's going to be visible, but I don't really think it's going to matter all that much because Kiryuda, of course, doesn't control the water at all. But in the meantime, let's check what's going to happen on the left, because the landing has already happened from Shelty, and he is establishing himself on the shoreline of Metalla, who is getting ready for it. But unfortunately, that's definitely not going to be enough. You can see attempting to go back to the water, but unsuccessfully. As the scraps are paying enough attention, the market is set up, so you would be expecting some mythical age from Metalla sometime soon, which is definitely something that he is attempting to do. On the waters are remaining battles, as Gnitsi Squash is coming back with those 6 dogs. But that's pretty much it, and I don't really think that right now at this point scraps are actually mining all that much, because they have successfully landed on both sides, on the left and on the right. You can see even we are seeing birdies coming into a bit of fun. Having a bit of fun against their opponents, wheelies and such. And since the Migdol is up, this is exactly what Magic needs, and since he will be pumping out elephants, once he isn't housed actually. Yeah, he's unfortunately housed. He needs to get rid of some boats and such. As he's getting rid of the military of his opponent on the water so far, getting rid of it fully with the siege boats, but to continue with this position, of course he's going to be dropping another Migdol, and that's a pretty big problem, especially with the ancestors coming up from him, right next to the TC of Kiludai, who just now is getting ready with the military, but that's way too late, and not even help from Green Sea Squash should be coming in time into this position. Yep, Steam Flambrets just missing those. Just missing though, Azorus is up through magic as well. So that's going to be somewhere casting, I don't know, Tornado. But in the meantime, we are looking at Shelty is so nicely ready at the left. Restoration being cast to basically help even with the repairing of the TC. But it's not really strong enough, as the army seems to be a bit too strong from Shelty at this point. And moving into the middle also, building Sky Passage, definitely a great idea, as we are seeing Vortex right now by Fox, who is moving in with all the strength as TC is just now coming down, and that's of course not something that Metalla will be able to handle just by himself. Kiruda has lost the TC as well through the Bosch of Magic, and even though Hephaestus is through from Metalla, I'm kinda thinking it might be a bit too late, because on the left the situation is dire, as is on the right, and Green Sea Squash seems to be quite engaged in this position, because Kirudai is not in a position to defend by himself, even through just now advancing into Thea. We are just waiting for the Tornado being used, and it's not even gonna get used, because the honor players are resigning, as they are recognizing that this landing is not going to be anything that they would be able to push back, especially on the left. On the right maybe they will be able to hold for a bit longer, but on the left the situation is absolutely out of their hands, because Shelty is too well set up. And with the extra help from Fox, yeah, that's a bit too much for Metalla to handle just by himself. Okay, so pretty great match, pretty great game this one as well. And the match is then 3-2 for the Scraps, who are advancing into the finals of the Frozen Times tournament. So congratulations, and we have seen really good games. I'm fully expecting similar to that in the finals. And their last match of the season. Yeah, you can see on the water that Green Sea Squash was doing well, but it was a bit too late, as unfortunately it didn't really matter anymore, as the opponents were already able to land on the other side of the map. Well, Fox right now having the best high score. Not sure. I liked how actually Magic played and Shelty. Especially Shelty against Metalos Zeus. That was kind of interesting how well he was doing. Was very interesting indeed, and unfortunately it really seemed like that yet again Honor players were having, or rather yet again, last game they were the ones with better team game, but this time it was kind of not ideal, as they couldn't on the water especially get into a situation where they could be using the restoration. It was even used on the TC at the end of the game, but that's the god power. That is the strongest in like classical Age, especially on the water, but yep, they weren't able to somehow force a big battle on the water because their opponents were doing a pretty good job in dividing them all the time. Magic with the best economy. As an Egyptian, yeah, why not? But still, would be expecting that maybe some Atlantean could be better. Fox was at least attempting. It's actually pretty close, I'm thinking. It's like 5,000, this is 4, this is 1, so that's 5. Yep, so pretty much similar as would be expected. Pretty nice upgrades from both Magic and Metal, or rather Magic and Fox. But otherwise the players basically all at 8. 3 players at 8. And the most units, that were the boats. That were the boats. Yeah, you can see from Metal kind of half-hearted attempt on the water still, it seems. Basically having literally just half of the boats of his opponents. How fast he was actually advancing improvements. 457, that's not bad. It's not that bad. Shelty 438. 20 seconds, yeah, that's a few extra boats, but still, if played correctly, especially on a map like this, which is playing quite similarly to Anatolia on the left and right flanks, you'll be able to come back, but the scraps played the water better. Wow, that was a big drop. Yeah, there was absolutely all the boats in here, so that was a pretty big fight on the water, apparently. You can see Metal Kill You Die and Green Sea Squash, all 3 of them losing absolutely everything, whereas their opponents were coming for up. Shelty, Magic. Magic was still kind of equalish. And the last player, Fox, also coming slightly up. So this was the basically game-breaking time in here, about 9.5 minutes. Well then, GG. What was this? Yeah, just interesting graph in there, but nothing interesting above normal. So yet again, GG, and congrats for the advance.